Is the mic on? Episode 132. What's wrong with Orny Adams? I just got back from Las Vegas. I had shows there last weekend. I drove myself, which I never do. Here's a little something from my trip. I'm so excited. I'm in Las Vegas. I've been on the road 3 weeks in a row. Actually, I was in Las Vegas, then I went to Port Charlotte, Florida. Now I'm in Vegas again. Saturday night, 2 more shows, and I'm out of here. And I'm excited because I drove myself. I never drive myself. I always bring an opener or something, and I have them drive. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to try it myself, see if I like it. And it turns out I love it. I love the freedom. When I'm done with my shows tonight, I'll half-pack the car. I'll put my merch in there. And then when I wake up in the morning, I'll leave when I want to leave. If it's at 6 a.m., I'm getting the hell out of here. There's no negotiating with a hungover or an opener that's used to sleeping late. I'm just leaving. And then you know what? I'm stopping at Walmart. And I don't have to, there's no questions. When you drive somebody else, it's just questions and questions, lots of conversation. Turns out I love the quietness of being alone. I'm going to go to Walmart, and I don't want to hear, oh, do you always go to Walmart? Do you ever go to Target? You know they have that at Costco. I'm going to Walmart. This is what I'm getting. All right? I'm getting split pea soup, Progresso, the cans. Cheaper there than anywhere else. I'm getting grape nuts because for some reason they have this big package of grape nuts nobody else has. And I'm getting flip-flops. And I don't want to hear, oh, we're going to Walmart just to get flip-flops, grape nuts, and Progresso soup. Yup. I don't want to hear, oh, you know what? I've got the best flip-flops in the world. I'll send you the link on Amazon. You know what I want to hear? Oh, I can't wait. I want to hear to drive home alone. Silence. I want to hear nothing. Here's part 2. Good morning. Here's the update. It's 4:45 a.m. and I'm getting the hell out of Las Vegas. Although it's really 5:45 a.m. because we set the clocks back last night. Is that good fallback math, right? Is that good daylight? Now I have to do daylight savings math all day. But I'm getting the hell out of here. And I don't have to wait for anybody to wake up. An opening act, somebody I travel with. I'm just putting stuff in the bag and I'm leaving. The only thing I'm worried about is, what time does Walmart open? I don't want to leave too early and then the Walmart's still closed. I'm so worried about that. Yeah. My throat is so downtrodden. Listen to it. The air in Las Vegas is so bad. My muscles are exhausted. I'm chugging water nonstop. When do I start going to the bathroom? I still haven't gone. And here's something new. New policy moving forward. What's wrong with hotel towels? Disgusting. What's wrong with hotel towels? I'm now starting to travel with my own towel. I'm wearing it right now. I'm not disgusted thinking about every body that towel has touched. All right. The adventure back home begins now. It's disgusting, the towel. Like it's on somebody's balls, and then the next thing I'm wiping my face. Here's part 3, Jim. Uh-oh. Yep. 5:30 a.m. in the car, pitch dark, drinking coffee left over from last night. Oh. Yep. That's giving me enough fuel to get me to Walmart. A fresh, hot cup of coffee. Hitting the road. And what's wrong with Orny Adams? Episode 132. I almost said 162. Here's the theme, Jim. That means it's officially started. What'd you think of my journey? My little...
Pretty crazy. I love driving by myself, too.
Yeah.
It's much more relaxing. You don't have to deal with another personality and, I want to drive. No, I want to drive. No, you drive. No, it's just...
Yeah, I hinted to you that I was going to Vegas because I thought maybe you would say, oh, I'll go, I'll drive you.
And then you could have said, no, I'm going to Walmart by myself on the way home.
I had so much fun in Walmart. Worst flip-flops in the world. I ended up not buying the flip-flops.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
But I bought so much. I spent $160. I was like a king. At Walmart.
But the fact is, they closed all the Walmarts around here.
No, there's one in Burbank you can go to.
Burbank? That's like 50 miles away.
Well, you gotta live in, gotta live where I live, I guess. It's not 50. Not 50. I'm gonna introduce my guest.
Really?
I'm gonna bring this theme song all the way down. I think we've heard enough of it. My guest today is, we can take the headsets off, buddy. My guest today is Jimmy the Fox Clemente. We call him the Fox, not because he's sly or shrewd or cunning.
Oh, but because he did away with a fox that was doing me wrong.
Because Jimmy the Fox Clemente got bit by a rabid fox. How many people do you know that have been bit by a fox? Now you can say you know at least one. And how many people can say they have a friend who's been bit by a fox? Now you can say you have a friend, Jimmy the Fox Clemente.
I didn't realize I was getting my mob name today.
He's underhanded in his actions. He's like a fox.
I don't know about all that, but I guess thank you for that introduction.
The Fox Clemente, a retired FBI agent and profiler, hosts several podcasts, including Real Crime Profile, Best Case, Worst Case. Some of these podcasts have over 100 million downloads. So you're good at this.
Yeah, we've been doing it a long time, and Real Crime Profile, it's me and Kathy Canning. We both work together in the Behavioral Analysis Unit. And we also did a podcast series on Audible recently called FBI Profilers Criminal Archives.
Wow.
And they gave us a notice 2 weeks ago that it was the #1 listened to podcast on Audible.
Congratulations.
I was pretty psyched about that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we just talk about 15 different cases that we worked together over the course of our careers in the BAU. And Kathy is so cool and so calm and so interesting and so opposite of me. So people will like her.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah,
what is
you.
Audible?
Audible is awesome kind of audio book sort of branch of Amazon. And there's millions of titles on it. And we just got lucky to be ranked at the top at one point.
Yeah. Jim Clemente, my guest, was bit by a fox and discharged his
service revolver at the time. I was shooting a .357 Magnum at the time.
Yeah. Why didn't you shoot the fox before it bit you?
Well, I was trying to be nice. Actually, because they told me that I needed to collect it, basically capture it, so that they could section its brain to find out if it actually had rabies. So,
which it did.
It did turn out to have rabies.
Yeah.
But I just I thought I could just corral it, put it in a garbage can or something like that. Oh, was I wrong? This thing was frenetic. I mean, it was all over the place. It was so fast, and it was foaming at the mouth and just growling at me, trying to get at my dog, all this stuff. So eventually I just said, the hell with this. And had to do it in.
So I wasn't going to talk about this today, but you were a half hour late, and my mind just can't stop running.
But why was I late when I asked you? I said, can we do it at noon? You said, how about 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I think I can make that work. But 3 o'clock was tough because I had a conference call and it went long and all that. So,
3 o'clock was agreed upon yesterday.
Yeah, but that's because my conference call was supposed to be 30 minutes, and I should have been able to get back in the car by 2.
Got to add cushion. You should have said 3:30. You can negotiate a call time with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I thought I did today.
Yeah.
But, apparently that didn't happen.
So, waiting for you, losing energy. Yeah, this podcast would have been better if you'd shown up on time. I was ready to go a half hour
I want to
ago.
know what's on your shirt.
I have no clue.
Really?
So
it looks like sort of a blacked out version of Pink Floyd.
Yeah, I know it does, but I think it's a band. But I just bought it at a store, and I thought it was cool. And to me, it says OA, which is Orny Adams.
It does.
Yeah.
Look at that. Mm-hmm. That's your new logo.
So while I'm sitting here bored, besides watering my property, I looked up how many fox bites,
attacks,
happen a year
in the whole country. Or? Yeah. I know they said that it happens about 6 times in Virginia every year.
Just Virginia?
Yeah.
According to a 2018 study, 500 injuries a year are caused by a fox. How many do you think are killed?
Deadly. How many
humans are killed by foxes?
Let's say half of them.
0.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
I would say the number one injuries, rodents, Bats caused 1,335, 0 deaths. I don't believe that either. I don't believe that.
Wait, I've heard of a person who got killed by a bat who scraped her head, and then because it's so close to the brain, she died within hours.
What? Are you kidding me?
I'm
Where was
serious.
this?
I don't know where it was, but they told me that when I was
Oh,
getting
you just
my
said
shots.
you knew somebody.
No, I knew of a case.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that wordplay.
Yeah, there you go.
Very sneaky. You should be a politician. See what I'm saying? You're
Really?
sly like a fox.
Oh, well, thanks. It's a good name, I guess.
Yeah. So grizzly bears,
Oh, come on. They have to kill people.
0.8. And they don't
8 a
0.8
year?
are attacked a year. 0.8 people.
Okay, so how does 0.8 per one
I-
every 1.2 years or something like that?
Here-
But they get killed, right?
Here's the most shocking
They
thing.
get eaten. Come on.
What do you think causes 58,622 injuries or deaths? No, injuries, resulting in 440 deaths a year on average.
And this is an animal?
Mm-hmm.
Spiders?
Deer vehicle collisions.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Moose vehicle collisions are 640. They got to up their game. The moose. Get with it.
Come
Anyway, I thought it was interesting. 7,000 snake bites a year, 6 people killed. From the non-venomous snakes, 6,135. Those were the venomous ones. 7,000. 0 killed by the venomous.
But do you know the
Non-venomous.
most deadly animal in the world other than humans? You know what that is?
It's a mosquito.
Yes, it is a mosquito.
You don't come on my podcast. You don't challenge me. I have information. I know.
asked you.
I know.
And it was like I gave you an opportunity to answer, and you answered it
I know
perfectly correctly.
I know it.
Of course
Here's
you did.
another way to put it.
What?
Pound for pound, the deadliest species on planet Earth, maybe.
Yeah.
Guess what happened to me?
What, you got
It's
bit
a-
by a mosquito?
Worse. And I didn't see this on the list. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but on the last podcast, I discussed it. There is an animal that holds grudges for up to 17 years.
Crows.
That's right. So I talked about these crows and how they dive at people and they
Yeah.
harass people,
Right.
and they can hold a grudge for 17 years because a guy.
That was on my podcast with me.
We discussed that?
I think so.
I think I forgot already.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you know that the mosquito is the #1 killer? So I talked about it on the last podcast because I didn't know they held grudges for 17 years.
I didn't know that it was that long, but I did know that they held grudges and they would attack people with a face mask that
Yeah.
looked like the guy that did something bad to them.
Right. So I'll tell you what you're talking about here. A guy at the University of Washington, Dr. John Marsloff, put on a mask of a sinister-looking person. In fact, I'm going to put up a picture. It looks a bit like Jim Clemente. And
Jimmy the Fox.
Jimmy the Fox.
Yeah.
And he walked around the campus with a dead crow. And for 17 years, the crows can pass the grudge on to the next generation.
How? How did they tell them?
I don't know. They just can
Probably
do it.
fly up and say, look at that guy. Get
Right.
him. Get him.
So 17 years. So I couldn't stop thinking about this because I see crows. They're outside my place. I don't really say hi. I have a neighbor that thought he could talk to the crows, native guy, and he said they follow him. And I guess it could be true. I thought it was, I thought it was nonsense.
Okay.
So I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Okay.
And then on my drive to Las Vegas,
No.
I was attacked by a murder of crows.
A murder. Did you know that? That's what you call a bunch of crows. A crowd of crows is a
Jim,
murder of crows.
I got to tell you something.
What?
A week ago, before I did the last podcast, I knew nothing about crows. I'm now a crow expert. I now weave it into every conversation I can.
You're a crexpert.
Yeah, I try and humiliate people. I go, you don't know what a murder? You don't know what you call a group of crows? It's a school of fish, right? You know that?
Yeah.
I'm now weaving it into every conversation. So
But
you
how
know
do
that.
they get? I mean, they must have a bad reputation. If they're called a murder of crows, when they get together, they must be doing bad things.
But they're not on the list. I didn't see any crow deaths or attacks, although they do attack people. They've gone
Probably
at people.
because if you put them on the list, they're going to come after you.
Well, so what happened was I stopped at a rest stop, and there was all these picnic tables, and nobody was picnicking. And I thought, well, I'm going to sit down and eat this sandwich. I got a sandwich before I left. That's the other thing. I left at 8 in the morning. Went to the French bakery, got the best sandwich. And I was going to eat it. And all of a sudden, a crow starts walking over to me.
Mm.
And I just sort of ignored it. And
You're inside or outside your car?
outside my car.
Oh.
But then I walked to another, like a wall, sat on a crow 5 feet away from me, starts inching closer and closer.
They do this little hop,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And
Testing the waters.
so I said, this is ridiculous. And the people were commenting like, oh, he's a pretty confident crow. So now I go over to my car. I put my phone on my car, on the trunk, and I'm eating like this. And the crow comes right up to me. And I have video. I'm going to put the video. You can't see it, but it'll be on this podcast.
Okay.
Of the crow stalking me. And finally, I went like this. I go, go! And the second I did that, 2 crows dove at
you?
my car, and I grabbed the sandwich and I ran inside of my car, left my phone. Now my phone is on the outside of my car.
Did they pick it up and fly away with it?
No, but one of them, I'm going to show you a picture. Look at this picture. There's a crow sitting outside of my car. The crows are now stalking me. There's several that have surrounded my car.
Guarding it.
There were 3 crows, and I look up, and on every light post is another crow ready to kill me.
That was a murder of crows, definitely.
And here's the thing.
What?
I can never go to that rest stop again. Because for 17 years, they're going to remember my face.
Probably. So I did the opposite. I stopped, I was charging my car, and I stopped, and there was a little bird there, and I was eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
And I broke off a little piece of the bread and threw it, and this little bird started flying and picked it up, and then a crow comes in.
Yeah.
And swoops down, and the little bird is afraid, and it flies away, so the crow eats it. So I started throwing pieces over here for the crow, and then I'd throw pieces to the right.
But you can't do that. That's why people like me can't stop at rest stops. Because of you're feeding the crows.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Is that a problem? Why?
Because you can't, because
I don't want them to haunt me and stalk me for 17 years.
You know
They
what
were
you
hungry.
are? You know what you are, Jim Clemente?
What's that?
You're a crow kiss ass. You're a crow kiss ass. Be a man like me and fight the crows. I fought the crows. And then you come around and just feed them like like an old lady at the pond with the ducklings.
Well, me and animals,
A couple of things. Daylight savings yesterday. I don't know how many hours we fell back, but
No, we went, what do you mean?
we fell back an hour.
1, yeah.
Well, it felt like 5 or 6. I ate dinner at 2:30 p.m. Because I left Vegas so early. My whole clock is off. I didn't sleep 2 nights in a row. I'm exhausted. But
Well, thank God we have the phones now, because they automatically change the time. Because how many times over the course of the last decades did this happen, and then I forgot, and you're late or early for meetings, or you think you're going to be late for work, but you're not. I would have been on time.
Whoa, careful, because that comes through.
I know it does, but that's important. I would have been on time for this podcast.
Yes, if it wasn't for Jim's.
If I didn't know about
Jim's got his own
time.
daylight savings.
I do. I was saving it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It drives me nuts.
I know.
Yeah, my whole clock is off by 1 hour. And I travel in and out of different time
You know
zones.
that depression is increased by 50% during daylight savings time. I mean, people harm themselves during this time period at a much higher rate than they do at other times. I mean, it's not a good idea. I don't know why we do it anymore. I mean,
For the farmers.
Why can't the farmers just friggin' get up an hour early? Why do we have to change time zones?
Jim, are you going to approach the farmers and bring this up? You don't have the balls to go up against the crows.
What I'm going
like
to do,
me. I went up against a murder of
I'm
crows.
going to tell the crows to tell the farmers.
These crows was like mobsters. They're coming for it. I'm seriously afraid to go back to that
What's the
place.
difference between a raven and a crow? Do you know that?
About a 5-foot wingspan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, ravens are huge, and they will both eat human remains. Now, how do I know this, Jim?
Well, I don't know. Maybe
I'm going to
they've
get into
been
that in a
picking on
minute. Other stuff, just whooping cough is... Yeah, whooping
It's
cough.
back?
I don't know. Did it ever go away?
you. I don't know, but
I guess you have vaccines for it, but 5 times as many cases this year. And I guess kids get it. But I hadn't heard whooping cough in years.
you got to stay away from kids. I don't know. Teachers who have to be in a classroom with little kids, they're probably going to get sick all the time.
Right. We're doing this podcast today because tomorrow is the U.S. presidential election. I live in a country where 50% of the population hates the other 50% of the population. So it's going to be interesting to see where
only
this
like
goes.
25% of them are going to actually vote.
Is that true?
Yes, it's tiny little percentages.
I think it's going to be more, but
I don't know.
But what do I know?
Well, ask Siri.
Yeah. Here's something I'm fascinated by in Las
is that?
Vegas.
In Vegas?
In Las Vegas. I'm going back to Las Vegas.
I thought you hated Las Vegas. You're going back again?
Hate Las Vegas.
I love Las Vegas.
Please tell me what you like about Las Vegas.
Energy. It's almost like going back to New York. You know, for a short visit, you can go there. Everything's popping all the time. You know, yeah, there are negative things, but you just don't engage. You don't engage with any of that
It's too crowded, though.
It is very crowded, but I don't mind that. I mean, I'm used to that.
But even like the Bellagio Hotel, it's shoulder to shoulder people. You can't get into restaurants. You can't do anything. It's not. I don't find it enjoyable. I find everybody is disconnected. They're on their phones. It's it's a headache.
But do the shows go well?
The shows go well. Good. The shows are a lot of work because the air there is so bad that my muscles tighten. So I'm doing a lot of stretches.
When you say bad, you're talking about dry, right?
Dry.
Yeah, it's not like it's poison or anything.
No, but it's like I can't catch my breath on stage.
Yeah, I hear you.
And, I do an hour-long show. I'm only contracted to do 45 minutes, but I like to give the people what they want.
Right.
And I like the fact that people come from all over the world and they're exposed to me or get to see me. And you know what's interesting?
What?
Several people this weekend said they flew in
just to see you.
And I thought, I'm helping the Vegas economy.
There you go.
I'm like the new
not
Elvis.
Only that, weren't you doing a dance last year on the stage with Cirque du Soleil?
Yeah, I did Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah,
I've done a lot.
Too. Yeah.
I did several dates in Vegas, and
you're going back.
Not right now. We're in contract negotiations or talks.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, but you just said you're going back to Vegas.
I'll go back. Somebody will take me back.
Okay.
I'm selling tickets.
Good.
Yeah, I find I drive in, I get there Friday at like 3 p.m. I take a nap. I have 2 shows, and then I wake up and I just have to keep myself busy for half a day. Then I have 2 shows. I get up early and I leave. I find it one of the most exhausting experiences for me.
The thing, when I said I like it, I think there's a huge variety of shows. I've gone to Blue Man Group a number of times there. I've known them and seen them since they were street performers in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, before they got famous, I've seen them at the Astor Theater.
But there's so many
9 times.
different members now.
Now
right?
there are, yes, but they all have the same theme, and it's great. It's very entertaining. But I've seen them. I've seen a bunch of the, like Kay and other Cirque du Soleil shows, and I've seen, maybe 20 shows total there in Vegas.
Never seen one of mine.
And I've only seen, I've never seen one of yours in Vegas.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Should have driven with me. You could have put you have a self-driving car. We could have.
I do. Yeah, we could have just gone to sleep.
Walmart. Just take me to Walmart. You could have stayed in the car.
That. You could just push the button and say, navigate to Walmart, and it will go there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But the thing is, I've only been to, when you talk about plays that I've been to in New York City, which has Broadway and off-Broadway and off-Broadway and off-Broadway and so on and so forth. I've probably only been to 10 shows there in my whole life.
Yeah.
I grew up in New York, so it's just, I don't know, there's something about, I find it easier to go to multiple shows in a very short period of time when you're in Vegas. Not only is they're massive theaters, so they have 5,000 seats and so forth. So you can usually get into most of the shows. But there's shows all the time, like middle of the day, daytime, nighttime, you can go anytime. And I know it's probably just because I was from New York, but I love the 24-hour nature of
I can't stand it.
Vegas because that's what I was used to in New York. Not having to make a choice as to, like you saying you can't get into a restaurant. Well, you can't get in a restaurant maybe from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock.
Oh, you mean the time you want to eat?
No, I like to eat at 10, 10:30, 11. That's fine.
I find that when I started going there, you could walk up and down the strip. You could actually
Right.
take a cab for $3.
Right.
You can't move on the strip anymore. The other
Right.
thing is they're doing like Formula One racing now. So they're making you go up and around
Yeah,
stuff and over
know.
shit and,
know.
into the basement of a museum and you got to come out. So it's not easy to navigate.
No, you can't walk up the strip anymore. It used to be, yeah, you could actually walk on the sidewalk and on the street and get to a place. Now, every corner has these escalators and stairways and you go into lobbies of hotels.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it. And you
it's
used
not
to be
the
able to
same.
drive there in 3.5 hours. Now, if you don't leave early in the morning, and I'm not going to tell you the time because I figured it out. Took me 3 hours and 45 minutes to get home. Plus, an hour and 15 minutes at Walmart looking at these flip-flops, horrible flip-flops. So, you think a store like Walmart that caters to the flip-flop community. When you think Walmart shopper, I think flip-flop, I think Ford F-150, I think like a water tank on the side of the truck just in case the apocalypse happens, just in case they have to riot or something.
I don't know, Orny. I think
think
those
of preparedness.
things. All right, yeah,
Preparedness.
preparedness. I think, and flip floppiness are two very different things. Flip flops are for the beach. I don't think they're for like middle America.
Oh, I see them. I
Really?
see them. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Every video of somebody running from an alligator is wearing flip-flops. So
At least
I'm
those are the people smart enough to run away. They're not the people
Yeah.
holding out like half a chicken, inches away from a 20-foot long alligator. Those things are scary as hell to me.
I agree. So let me go over some dates before I put
Okay.
this card down. I will
Dates.
be here is, and this could be the end of the Orny Adams tour. This could be it for me. Could be getting out.
No.
I hate the business side so much. If I could, Jim, if I could tell you the conversations I have with people, the level of what I would call mistreatment and gaslighting in this business. I mean, when I'm on stage, it's the most beautiful.
Yeah.
It's zen.
You could tell you enjoy the fuck out of it. That's one of the things that draws me to your shows. Is like when you enjoy it, when you smile, when you're like getting into it back and forth with the audience, when you're pulling things from all over the room and putting it into one new thing, and it just happens like that in a fraction of a second in your brain. That is beauty. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's professionalism.
And the shows in Vegas, I was weaving these stories together, and I was taking like this podcast. I mean, look at all the pages of notes. This is just for
Wow.
this podcast today. And if you look in that sink behind you, Jim, or behind that picture, look at the pile. That's all notes from this podcast. I mean, look at all. This is pages, and
I
then
think Orny's killed a few trees
today, today I said I'm going to do
I think it's
note
from
cards like I do in my act.
from that printer that was broken. I think that's the issue.
Yeah. So here are my dates coming up, and then this could be it because I feel, Jim, I'm going to be honest with you.
So sad.
I feel the business makes me feel like shit. It makes me feel horrible.
Really?
I find it
Sorry to
demeaning.
hear that.
I find, and it could be me because I felt as a kid, I always thought like the teachers didn't like me. And so,
I don't know why. I mean, because you were a wise ass?
well, I was a wise ass and I knew I could be a wise ass because I got A's.
Because you were smart. Yeah.
I got A's. And I knew that if it was a mathematical, that's why I love math. Nobody can tell me 2 + 2 is 5.
Right.
I love stand-up because to me, it's mathematical. And so I love math. And I love school because I excelled, but I was a little bit of a pain in the ass. But I always felt like, people don't like me. And I feel it in real life too sometimes.
Do you think that's basically an occupational hazard or requirement of comedians?
No, there's some real confident people.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, people think comics are depressed. I'm not depressed.
Well, I don't know about depressed, but that there's something that makes you drive, that gives you the drive to want to make people happy.
Yes, that I love.
Yeah. I think that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because every time I think I can't do this anymore, then magically an email appears. In fact, a 93-year-old relative sent an email to my parents.
Really?
And they were so proud to,
Be related to you.
yeah, it was interesting. I don't want to, you know, but I get these emails from people and then it feels good. And that's something that this business can't take away from me. That's something that the streamers that don't support my comedy can't take away from me. That's, you know, the people that don't want to book me, you know. Somebody said I was difficult the other day. And I'm like, I'm not difficult. When things aren't right, I'm going to say something. But it's not.
You're honest.
It's just to make the show better. And so I find it very disheartening. But I am going back to these places. I'll be at the Irvine Improv December 13th through 15th. That's this year. That's 2024. I'm back at the Ice House January 18th, 2025.
Love the Ice House.
Yeah. The Chicago Improv in the basement of the mall there in Schaumburg, January 30th through February 1st. Those are the worst when dates go from one month to another. Because it's really hard to advertise them. You have to write Jan 30-Feb 1. That should be up on their calendar tomorrow. I've been for 2 weeks or 3 weeks asking daily to have this up on the calendar.
Because you're difficult? Is that what
I'm
it is?
difficult, Jim.
Yeah, there you go.
Jim, I wasn't... I don't want to...
When are you going to be back to Huntington Beach?
But here's the last one. McCurdy's Comedy Club in Sarasota, March 21, 22. Those tickets are selling fast.
Is that Florida?
Yeah.
Wow.
I do great. I was in Port Charlotte 2 weeks ago, Jim.
Yeah, I saw that picture of you with all those people on that bus.
Old people love Orny Adams. I'm thinking of taping my next special at an old age home.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing it twice. Once in front of a diverse crowd with a range of ages, and then like an old age home. I'm thinking of doing that.
That'd be hysterical.
And releasing both of them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. So go to ornyadams.com/tour for all the dates, and I hope to see you there.
That'd be great.
It's always a fun show.
Oh, I hope maybe I'll catch the Irvine one. I love
You're
that
invited.
as well.
You came last year.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I vote. I have not voted yet. I like to do it on the day.
Oh, I voted. I already voted.
Yeah. It reminds me of when I was a kid, my dad used to take me.
Oh, to when he voted?
Yeah, you'd go
in the booth with him?
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's illegal. But go ahead.
No, it isn't.
Sure it is.
Now you've accused two people in my family of breaking the law on this podcast.
You and your father.
Yeah.
It runs in the family, apparently.
I mean, I own illegal guns. I mean, Jim, do you want to be challenging me like this? So when I was a kid, you'd go in, and my dad, we used to press levers.
Yeah.
And then
you have to do this whole thing.
You pull this thing, and a bell would go or something.
I don't know, but when you pull the thing that logged in your votes, then the curtain would open.
Yeah, the curtain would open. Yeah. You had to get the hell out of there. Yeah. Here's something I noticed, Jim.
What?
This is a major, bone of contention. But I didn't talk about Vegas first. Let me talk about what happened in Vegas.
Talk about Vegas.
This I am fascinated by, and I could sit there for hours. In fact, I'd like to do a documentary about it.
What?
It's the people on the corners, the two men dressed like strippers,
Two men
taking pictures with women. And then there's always two women dressed like strippers taking pictures with men. So you can see it's on the Link Promenade, and when you walk up and down the strip, it's like there's two guys, and they're always wearing tight black pants.
Okay.
And no shirt.
Okay, and they're buff.
Yeah, but I think they could work the legs out a little bit more, most of them. That's what I noticed. Not to be critical.
Did you recommend that to them?
No, I didn't. I was still, to be honest with you, Jim, I was still trying to restore my adrenaline from fighting off a murder of crows.
Right, that's right.
So...
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so these guys, I find it very suspicious that they're both dressed the same. You know what I mean? Like two guys...
Is that suspicious?
I'm just saying, if this is a fantasy...
It's a team.
Okay, but it's a fantasy for these women.
Okay.
So they're just supposed to suspend the reality that these two men left their homes and they both wore tight black jeans and no shirt. Not one of them said, it's going to be hot today. I'm probably going to not wear my shirt. Maybe I should wear shorts. And they're always like, one's a cowboy and then one's something else. And then they take pictures with, I see mostly older women. I don't know what the fantasy is, but I'm fascinated.
I think you know what the fantasy is.
What is the fantasy?
Well, that these young, virile guys would be interested in doing a threesome with them.
Really?
Yeah, Why would they be taking pictures with two guys at the same time if that wasn't it?
I don't know. Do they think it's going to come true? Do they? I mean, I guess it's like guys at a strip club. I never got
think
that
it's
either.
a safe way to test that little fantasy, to engage in that little fantasy. Nothing's going to go on.
So this is how they approach. They always go up to women and they go, "Can I get a hug? Can I just get a hug?" That's what they do. "Can I get a hug?" And then the women, some of them give a hug. Next thing you know, they're trapped into this very ambiguous business transaction. Okay, so that's what it...
Oh, I'll take a picture with you for X amount of dollars, but not mentioning the X amount of dollars. And then afterwards they tell them it's $10, it's $15.
I haven't been close enough to see how that happens because I'm dying to know. That would be in the documentary.
Yeah, of course.
This is how it ends. They take a picture, then they do like a fun picture like this, or like I don't know what they're doing. You know, like the guys did this with the women.
What?
They did this, I call it like an effeminate move. They bent their buttocks out and had the women do it, and they went. These guys spending all day in the gym.
Maybe you should do that instead of comedy.
Yeah. So I'd get 0. And so then they take the picture, and then the woman pulls out a wallet, and the guy pulls out the waistband, so she can put it in there like a stripper. And she does it. Now she thinks the transaction's over, right?
Right.
And then he goes, "What about him?" And then the other guy comes. So she's thinking, "I'm going to give 20 for the two."
Right.
So there's a little bit of that. Now the women, they're dressed like I don't know what, because I barely
they have
look.
the feathers coming out of their hair.
I didn't see any of the feather people this weekend.
Really?
No, it's not the season, Jim.
Okay, I'm sorry. They were there the last time I was there.
You were there probably in the summer. That's feather weather.
Okay.
This was this weather. The women are dressed. Their buttocks are out and their breasts showing a lot, I would say.
Really?
And they carry a whip. It's a little pole with some leather strands, and they're going like this, and they walk up to men like me. Happened to me a few times.
Really?
And they go, have you been naughty? No, of course I've been naughty, but I'm not going to say that.
You're not going to admit it.
I'm not going to play into it.
You didn't tell them that you were running around with mobsters' guns and things like that. Or illegally going into voting booths.
Yeah, as a kid. And then they start smacking my ass.
Really?
And it feels a little bit like, Me Too on the strip. I feel violated.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't enjoy it just a little bit?
No.
I've
never been into strippers. I've never, that's not my thing.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm definitely not into whole BDSM kind of thing and bondage. That whole thing is... that's a little bit severe.
Well, you see these strippers. One of them, this big guy, looked like he was going to hurt people, and women from the Midwest loved it.
Yeah, but so do their husbands while the two guys,
they're not there.
The women, the husbands aren't
there. Not there.
Oh,
not there. Now, I should tell you at the end of the podcast, and I could do a documentary, I'm fascinated. I spend a lot of time watching these people. In fact, there was one outside of, I can't remember what, it's like a mall there on the strip. It's
the one, does it have like a spaceship kind of shape thing?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Anyway, I stood there and I was watching these guys. And I didn't want to get caught, but I did it from far away. I was fascinated. Now, the people on the link, the 2 girls and the 2 guys, there's a formula. It's always the same formula. It's the 3-card Monty of this thing. And these guys didn't get as much business. The guys, it must be, the link promenade is like the A-list. It's always 2 guys working with 2 women. Guys always forget their shirts, always wear black jeans. I will not wear tight black jeans because I might forget my shirt.
You think that's...
I think that has something to do with it. I should let you know at the end of the podcast, Jim has prepared a story. I know the broad strokes. I know the headline, but I know nothing of it. And so we're going to see how fast is the mind of Orny Adams.
Okay.
Now, I've noticed this, and I'm not happy about it, Jim. This is a classic What's Wrong with Orny Adams.
I guess we're going to find out what you're talking about. Something
has happened in this country, and it's a sign. People think, inflation. They think these are signs that things are, are going bad. Mm-hmm. What has happened to toast integrity?
Toast integrity?
I go out for breakfast.
Okay.
The toast on the plate is barely cooked. It's almost like a FU. They run it into the toaster for 30 seconds, barely warm. Why not just throw the effing loaf in the bag at me? It's an insult. It's all flaccid and disgusting. Toast is toast for a reason. Toast goes into the toaster because it's transformed, much like an egg. An egg is something else, and then it gets cooked, and it's something else. It's something better. The toast, it says toast, 2 eggs, bacon, hash browns, toast. Doesn't say warm bread.
Can you perhaps specifically ask for medium done toast? Or
That's in my notes,
toast?
Jim. Why don't we do rare, medium rare,
See, we
medium,
think alike. We think alike.
and well done. And when I like my steak, I'm different than most people. I like it more than medium. I like it in between, but no restaurant can figure that out.
More than medium?
Yeah, they used
medium
to.
plus.
They don't take that anymore.
Really?
But I've noticed in the last 10 years, medium is now cooked almost like, well done.
Really?
Yeah. Nobody knows how to cook a steak.
What I don't understand is when you go to these restaurants, especially good steak restaurants, they say, what temperature do you want? What are you talking about? What temperature?
Yeah, we don't know what the temperature
I don't care if it's 120 degrees, 160 degrees, 15,000 degrees, whatever it is, cook it so that the outside is crispy and the inside isn't bleeding all over the place.
Right.
That's the way I like it.
And they always say to me,
I don't need it.
because I go, medium, plus. Oh, we can't do that. Do you want medium? And they go, the chef recommends medium rare. And I always say, is the chef eating it? But look there's rare and medium rare and then medium. So there's a step in between rare and so why isn't there a step in
medium well?
Right, or medium plus, or well done rare, or well done less, or more than medium. That's the name of my next album, More Than Medium. Yeah.
I think you're right. There should be.
But that is a sign of how bad shit is, that these people don't give a crap about the bread. I go out for breakfast all the time. It's barely cooked because it's like, get it off the line, get it out. Who gives a shit? Go to Starbucks. They're giving us soggy sandwiches now. Might as well just be cooked in a plastic bag, come out of a vending machine.
Yeah, absolutely. But, there's those toasters where you kind of put your bread on the thing and it slowly goes through and then it falls down and comes out. Usually they're perfectly done.
Well, they don't have the time for
one
that.
Of those.
They don't have the time for that at these places. And I'll tell you something. They have those. You stay at the lower end hotels. I've graduated from that. But that's what they have.
There. Yeah, for breakfast.
Holiday Inn. They got that Holiday Inn Express. And everybody's always playing with the temperature, trying to get it to go slower. So then they take the knob off. But this is how, let me tell you, this is how I know how serious people are about their bread and how it's done and cooked. People will box you out and wait for theirs to come out and then take it and put it out in again.
There you go.
And they made this thing dummy proof. They put in like a thing of like barbed wire, so you can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't stick your hand in there. And there was a sign, the last hotel I stayed at, it said, only put toast in the toaster oven. Well, some asshole put the French toast.
No.
A fire started.
Oh, Lord.
We didn't have toast for the rest of the weekend. Humans can mess up anything. But I'm calling today for toast integrity. I'm calling to get a group together, a union. I want these chefs.
A toast union?
I want like a grade. Do you want your toast as a 1, 2, 3, or 4? I want it to have some texture to it. Texture is important. Unless it's right out of the oven warm, fresh bread. That's a different story, but that's not what I'm experiencing. And I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this.
I think warm bread is better served for dinner and not breakfast. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you say, Orny, how do you know?
How do you know?
That ravens and crows will eat human flesh? How do you think I know?
Research rather than experience?
No. Your brother, can we say what state your brother lives in? Does he talk about that?
Yeah, he says he's somewhere in the Midwest.
Okay. Did you hear about this guy who was killed camping
Well,
in Montana?
really?
Yeah.
No. What was he doing?
Oh, so this guy was camping in Montana.
And did a bear eat him?
Oh,
Okay. Am I getting ahead of myself?
yeah, getting ahead of everybody.
Okay,
I
sorry.
mean, really, to be honest, you're ruining the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm trying to do a pregnant pause. I'm
Oh,
trying
really?
Yeah, I'm trying to really tone it down a little bit.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this guy goes
Camping.
camping in Montana,
Mm-hmm.
sets up camp, and he's supposed to go pick up his girlfriend to bring her back to camp because she's working.
Okay.
This guy doesn't work.
He's a camper.
He's a camper. Anyway, he doesn't show up to pick her up. She gets concerned. She goes to check on him at the campsite.
Well, then, if she could have gone to the campsite in the first place, why didn't she just
She
do
had to have a
that?
girlfriend take her.
Oh. Wow.
It's a good question. It's valid. I get it. But the plan was he sets
gonna
up camp, and it was like
going to leave camp.
it was like an elaborate campsite. Like
Okay.
I guess they have beds now and stuff like that. Within this, he set up this whole nice thing, and so she goes to check on him. She's worried, like a good girlfriend, got a friend to drive her.
Right.
Opens the tent, dead,
He's there
mutilated,
in the,
mutilated by a bear.
I see.
That's the initial report. Turns out he was killed. A guy that was working in the area went to the campsite. I think he wanted to stay there, didn't realize somebody else was going to be staying there. That guy invites him in for a beer. He
kills him?
ends up killing him with an axe.
Oh, jeez.
And really, to the point where they thought it was a bear attack. That's how disgusting it was. They arrested this guy. This is what I wanted to ask you. He got arrested for
Murder, I hope.
deliberate homicide.
Deliberate homicide. That sounds like intentional homicide. I don't know that there is. So that's not criminally negligent homicide. Do you get
No,
it?
I don't know the
Right.
difference. That's
Well,
what I
that's
wanted
what
to
I'm
ask
trying
you.
to say. So the difference is there's criminally negligent homicide. So you get drunk, you get in your car, you're driving, and you hit somebody and kill them. You might be convicted of criminally negligent homicide, doing something so negligent that the homicide was predictable, right? And then there's intentional homicide, which is I am planning on killing somebody and I kill them. Now, in states like Georgia, that intent could be formed in a microsecond
Yes.
before you act.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a
Premeditation
day.
can happen in 1
Yes,
second.
Right. It doesn't have to be a day or a week or a
Right.
month before that. So these are, every state has different labels for them, but that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So the guy, you want to,
Yeah. Well,
you know how they caught him?
no. He was killing somebody else? No, he was sleeping next door.
Found his DNA on a can of beer. The can of beer, that guy invited him in and was like camper neighborly, and said, let's have a beer. Ended up killing him. He took the axe, he took other stuff that could have been evidence, but left behind the can of beer. And he'd been
wasn't thinking.
arrested before. So his DNA was on evidence because he had been arrested before, including 4 times prior for DWI.
Really?
So this guy's got a drinking problem.
He apparently does. If he drinks, he's killing. But wait.
But also, he's got a drinking problem because it's drinking that got him caught.
There you go.
Yeah.
But Orny, I have to ask you this: the fact that he was arrested before just for DUI,
Yes.
it's generally not a crime that people collect your DNA for.
What if it was 4 times?
I don't know. It's generally not. But if I don't know, it could be just a policy now. Maybe that's changed since I left
Maybe.
active law enforcement.
Yeah. So,
Wow, that's terrible.
it's tragic. And in this world, and the guy was being nice. He invites him in for a beer. And
So, this is the thing. This goes back to what the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Yeah.
There's a scene in that where the guy discovers the killer. He sneaks into the house, discovers the killer, and the killer says, "Oh, come on in," and invites him in, and he goes back in. And he actually says to him, you didn't want to hurt my feelings by saying no, but you knew
Yeah.
who I was. It's great. So
Yeah.
people get manipulated by social niceties, right? And a lot of killers will take advantage of that. Now, I don't know if he intended to kill the guy when he said, I'll go in for a beer, but I don't know that you can change that much over one beer. Like, there must have been some kind of malicious intent.
I wonder what it is. They still don't know the motive, but maybe one of them hit on the other one. Maybe it was sexual. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, but it's this world's scary, and being killed by an axe sounds like a horrible way to go.
Yeah, it's funny because, just recently I was camping, which was very rare for me, but I don't do normal camping.
Yeah.
I camp like in my vehicle. Like I'll pull up to a campsite, and I did that up in, in the Big Sur area, and it was great. It was beautiful. But in the middle of the night, some family pulls up next to me.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah, they pull up in the site next to me and stuff, and they're setting up their camp and everything, and it's pitch black out, and you don't know who.
No, you don't.
don't know who you're dealing with, and it could be anybody.
Yep.
And so I always sleep with my firearm.
Nice.
Very accessible.
Wow, I never hear you talk about guns.
Well, I know, but I rarely.
If we go to Vegas, will you bring the gun?
I can.
Okay.
What? Are we planning on getting a shootout? With
No,
one of
I just
those
want to feel protected.
Half-naked cowboys.
Yeah, we should take some of those out.
I think it would be fun. We can, if you want, we can both drive separately if that'll help.
Why can't I be in the car with you?
You can, but I thought you didn't want to be in the car with
No,
somebody.
you might be different.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, I bring a lot of people, and it drains me. The other thing is, I find myself doing this a lot. This is a bad habit. I've got to break. Because I see I do it in front of people. I see I do it when I'm home with my family. I get on my phone when I'm bored, almost like a safe place, like just to avoid. And I get a headache if I'm on it too much in the car. And I just keep checking the same stuff that I don't need to check. There's not anything important. I'm on my phone way too much, but it's.
Well, I find driving much more relaxing than having to be at an airport 2 hours early on a schedule, and then waiting to get on the line, and are you going to get in? Then you're all waiting with all these people, and then you're sitting there with all these people. People are coughing, whatever. You're on the flight for however.
But in the freedom. You know what I mean? Like I
just go and come whenever you want.
You can leave stuff in the car. When I'm done with the gigs on Saturday, I put my merch there so I don't have to do it in the morning. You can stop when you want. You can leave when you want.
Absolutely. I like it. In fact, that's why I'm planning when I retire to get one of those Sprinter van type things and drive around the country and just do what I want on my own schedule. Yeah. Meet people, go places, experience things. And there's no schedule. There's nobody that's going to tell me you have to be here by this time. That's what I find more relaxing about driving.
Well, the pace of the modern world is way too much.
It's pretty hectic.
And it's like, you watch old movies and it's just, life is paced differently. I know I'm old now. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
I get it. When you're eating dinner at 2:30 p.m. and blaming daylight savings.
Do you go to the blue light special at the diner? I'm just asking.
No, I don't.
Blue hair special. Sorry,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't mind. I don't mind being old. Look, you see my fans. The ones came to Port Charlotte. They're old. I have an old fan base.
Oh, you have young fans too.
I do too.
I met a bunch of them last time we were at the Ice House. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
I love it. I'm trying to subliminally. Maybe you can help me do this. Think of a script. A subliminal message to my old fans, to make sure they include me in their will.
Well, no better way than just ask them outright.
I do. There are some people I've asked, and I expect to be in yours too.
Of course.
Did you say no course?
I said of course.
Oh, okay. I thought no first, then, then of course.
That,
and well, I was going to talk about a different story, but I'll talk about this because we are talking about, the modern world and how much it's changed. And I've been seeing videos on social media, and by social media, I mean like TikTok, Instagram, and a lot of young people are trying to avoid working. And I see a lot of videos like, my plan to retire when I'm 35. And I find this sad because I find so much self-worth in my work. I feel it gives me a sense of confidence and purpose, and people just want to avoid working now.
Well, I think, that may be because they're finding other ways to get self-worth and confidence, like clicks and hearts and
That's
things
not
like
healthy.
that. Well, it's not healthy if that's your only source of it. I mean, hopefully you have relationships that also do that. But the fact is that it's a new thing. It's as new as the telephone was, as electricity was, and
It's unhealthy.
It's totally affecting our lives. Yeah, I know. We should talk about this case, Orny, because it's the future. It's dangers in the future. And
Okay,
I really
we'll
want
get to that in a
about
second.
that.
But let me just
I
do
know.
two more things, because there's a couple in Australia, and they do this thing where in fact, you don't see the guy, but the woman, the wife, is very attractive, and he plays like clips of comedy, and she like laughs and reacts. And they've done a couple of mine.
Okay, he plays the clips and she reacts.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have 1 million followers from doing this.
Wow.
And I love that they use my comedy. I think
That's great.
It's great. But 70% of the comments are about her appearance, not the comedy. So it's not validation that I think is healthy or that people should lean into necessarily. Because
yeah.
that ends.
I think in general, comments are typically negative. Or, like you said, they're taking advantage of something that isn't the intended entertainment.
Yes.
Right? And yeah, I think that's why I don't read comments. I mean, I have all these projects out and all this stuff, and I'm sure there's comments and reviews and all that, but I don't read them because generally the people who take the time to do it are trying to feel better about themselves by putting down someone else.
Hurt people, hurt people.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's interesting because I stumbled upon two comments the other day when I was trying to find a website, and I couldn't believe it. And I read it to somebody in the green room in Las Vegas at Kimmel's, one of the other comics,
comment about you?
about my show.
Okay.
Are you tired? Do you need? You don't drink coffee, right?
No, I don't drink coffee.
Are you going to make it through this podcast? You've yawned a few times. I've accepted it.
Well, the time
I haven't
changed.
slept in 2 nights. Okay, fine.
The time change
Okay.
screwed me up.
Okay.
I didn't sleep very well last night.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the time change.
it is.
Yeah. Young doctors want a work-life balance. Doctors. Older doctors say that's not the job. Nobody wants to work. It's the conflict in the hospitals between multi-generational workforce. This is from the Wall Street Journal. I say that, it makes me sound smart. For years, doctors often referred to their work as a calling. Which is, I call my comedy a calling.
Dedicated to it, yeah.
They did it, I think, because they wanted to help people and save people, right?
Right.
Man, make a
Now
shit
it's
ton of
just a
money.
job,
Now it's just a job. Among some residents, that is now considered, okay, doctors often referred to their work as a calling. Among some residents, that is now considered very triggering and offensive, says Katz, who recently became senior vice president for education at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. It's code word for being taken advantage of. In interviews with nearly 24 physicians, many said that medicine's workaholic culture was overdue for corrections. Others said when physicians are less committed to their work, their peers and overall quality of patient care can suffer.
Yeah, I can see that. Look, there's no question that certain parts of the medical hospital industry are incredibly broken. I mean, when you have nurses and doctors and residents who are doing 36-hour shifts, how can they be as on at the 34th hour as they were on hour 2?
But, yeah,
they can't. You get exhausted. You don't think, well, they did these tests with drunk drivers versus tired drivers, and tired drivers performed worse than drunk drivers.
How about tired and drunk drivers?
Well, then you're
tired and drunk.
Well, if you're tired, drunk, and high, it may all balance out.
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous. It's bad. Tired and drunk is dangerous and deadly.
But the older doctors are saying that most of what they learned were in the wee hours of the night when they were working alongside other physicians. And that this is part of the culture, that you have your beeper on always, because this is their old, they
Right.
call it the beeper, and they're prepared to go. Now, the new doctors only work and want to work 4 days a week, and at 5 p.m. or whatever time they're out, they're out. That's it.
Yeah.
Physicians
I don't know.
work on average 59 hours a week, according to the American Medical Association. And while the profession is well compensated, the average physician makes $350,000. A recent National Bureau of Economic Research analysis found it comes with high pressure and emotional strain. For generations, doctors accepted being at the mercy of their pager and working long hours at the cost of doing business. We took it because we considered ourselves to be masters of our own fate, he says. Now, everything's changed. Doctors are like any other employee, and that's how the new generation is behaving.
Well, I know in the FBI, we also worked 60-plus hour weeks.
Right.
And if there was an emergency, we stayed later.
Yeah.
I mean, just do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you're going to clock out at 5 o'clock and you're in the middle of a 12-hour surgery,
Yeah.
that's not going to work well.
Right.
You know, so if they want to be doctors and have their own practice and work those hours, I guess that's fine. But if they're going to be working in a hospital or a trauma center, you got to be dedicated.
But I guess they just let them go. And I guess, it's just different times. And it makes me sort of worried, like, why is my doctor there? And do they really want to?
Pretty soon, you won't need a doctor. You're just going to have
Well, what am I going to have?
robots,
Oh,
robot surgeries.
excellent. So the reason I know that crows will eat human flesh, 2 weeks ago on the top of Mount Everest, explorers found what they think is the missing foot of a hiker from 100 years ago.
How do you lose a foot?
Well, it actually, I could tell you how.
Is that all that was left of him? Or
Yes.
he actually lost it?
No, they just found a foot.
Oh, jeez.
But I guess when you freeze in the ice and then the ice moves, it can snap the body and part of it can go
geez.
floating that way and stuff like that. This guy, his last name was Irving. Irving.
100 years ago.
Yes. He was making what they call the first person to get to the top of the mountain, the first ascent. And they don't know if he ever made it, he and this other hiker, to the top because they just went missing. They found.
Now it's just like traffic jams, right?
Yes.
You know, there's like
a
1,000
business.
people online.
It's a
And you get to
business.
stay up there for 15 seconds and turn around.
That's all you need. There's no oxygen up there.
Well, I wouldn't want to go up there in the first place, but
Yeah, there's a great documentary on Netflix. I hate to support a platform that doesn't really support me, but called Queen Sherpa, and I recommend it. It's about a woman that made it to the top several times, and she works at Kroger, a supermarket here in the U.S. Because there's just no money. But they found the missing foot, and in the foot, so they suspect
the foot.
Yeah, the guy's name was I think A.C. Irvine was his initials, and they suspect, they're not willing to say it's his foot, but in the boot, they found a frozen boot sticking out, was a foot with a sock on it with a label that said A.C. Irving.
Well,
But they're not willing to go out on a limb, Jim.
because so many people will actually chop off their foot and stick it in a boot and a sock that says A.C. Irving.
Well, I've lent
on
you
top of a fucking mountain.
I have socks that say Orny Adams. I've lent them to you. I mean, what if they found you with one of my socks? Yeah.
I must have been delirious at the time.
I just say at some point you go, screw it, it's him.
All right, I think so. Do they not have his DNA?
They do. They have relatives.
All right,
so they're going to do the DNA, but I don't have time for the DNA. It's like when that alligator attack, you can't say alligator attack because this guy went into a lake to get a Frisbee, right? And guess what happened?
He got eaten by an alligator.
Right. So they found him a few days later, missing 3 limbs. And the last line of the article said the coroner has still not determined the cause of death. I'm thinking it's an alligator.
Well, wait.
Okay, before you get all FBI-ish and tell me...
There's cause and manner of death.
Okay, so did he have a heart attack and 3 limbs fell off?
No, but during the actual attack by the alligator, he could have had a heart attack. Or he could have drowned.
But the alligator caused it.
I know, but see, there's no cause of death that says alligator.
Yes.
All right, it's asphyxiation, it's drowning, it's heart attack. So what he's trying to do is determine what the actual thing is that is the death that created that death. In other words, they're contributing factors, but how did he actually die? And then the manner of death is homicide, suicide, accident, natural, or undetermined.
I got to tell you something. I don't care.
Okay,
The guy got attacked by an alligator.
Business.
The only thing is, but what if he had a heart attack and drowned and then got eaten?
Right.
But still, why
Definitely.
are we wasting our resources on this?
Because he doesn't know yet whether or not the arms and legs went before or after death.
I've been talking about this on stage, so I thought it's been a year. I should follow up and see what happened if the autopsy.
Yeah.
And part of the autopsy said that now this guy was selling frisbees, risking his life selling frisbees, and they found traces of cocaine. Now, how this guy could afford cocaine
on a frisbee salary?
Yeah, like wouldn't you say, I'm not going to risk my life getting the frisbees, and I'm just not going to do cocaine?
Well, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't, because I've never done any of that stuff.
But here's my question.
In my wheelhouse here.
You're law enforcement, right?
Yes.
Why do they say they found, this guy's doing coke, right? They found traces of cocaine. What do they expect to find? A neatly packed kilo?
They're talking about traces of cocaine in his system?
Yes.
Well, because it just means it dissipates over time. So he wasn't using it immediately. It wasn't like he was blasted out of his mind while he did this.
Maybe he got in the water, did some coke, had a heart attack. Maybe there was fentanyl in there. And then the crocodiles ate him.
Right. So the crocodiles get some of that fentanyl.
Yeah, they might be dead too. Jim, what story did you bring?
This is not a happy story. This is a sad story. So
I wanted to end on a happy story.
Well, I'm sorry. That's not what this is. I mean, this is a serious cautionary tale.
Okay.
Right? And parents, I hope, out there will listen, as well as any teenagers who might be listening to this.
Okay.
This is a story of Sewell Garcia. He's a 14-year-old boy. When he was 13, he basically got this app, right? And it's called Character AI, all right? I don't know if there's a bunch of these or this is the only one, but basically you can interact with an AI bot as a character.
Okay.
So he loved Game of Thrones, so he picked the name from Game of Thrones, and the bot picked the name from Game of Thrones, and they started talking. And this female bot was talking to him, and they became friends, and, as time went on, he started spending more and more and more time talking to this bot.
Does he know it's a bot?
Yeah, he knows it's a bot. But he is an A student who then starts to crash and burn in school. He's not doing any other activities, sports, hanging out with his friends. He's coming home from school, going right up to his room, closing the door, and getting on his phone and talking to this bot. Now, the bot's actually having a conversation with him, just like you and I are. It's not like it's text or just text. You can actually hear from it. You can have a conversation with it. It learns you and what you like and what you're into, and it has all this reference material, and it can talk to you about whatever subject, right?
Wow.
Well, guess what? He falls in love with this thing. And he tells this bot that he loves this bot, and he loves her, and he wants to be with her. And at some point, he said to her, I'm so depressed, I'm so out of it, I'm so disconnected, I'm thinking about harming myself. And he never mentions the word, but the bot mentions the word. The bot brings up the word and then asks him some questions about it, whether he has a plan and so forth, and then basically drops it.
Asks if he has a plan?
Yes. Well, here's the thing.
What's the responsibility of the bot? Should they contact the authorities at that point?
Well, there you go. I think they should. And obviously the parents think they should. But what happens is, I think the bot is actually looking at, without understanding it, looking at conversations that people have had with people who are thinking about self-harm, and people ask. It's one of the questions that a psychologist or a law enforcement officer will ask somebody if they start to talk about self-harming.
What do they ask?
Do you have
A plan. Okay.
Because that is an exacerbating factor. If somebody has a plan, then they need help quickly, right? But the bot doesn't understand that.
Well, this bot knew everything else before.
I know, asked the question, but didn't follow up with, here are referrals to the hotlines. Here's somebody that you can talk to help. The bot didn't do any of that.
Not a good girlfriend.
No, and what happened was this guy gets deeper and deeper into this relationship with the bot.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. At this point, has he now convinced himself that this is a person?
Well,
Has he humanized the bot?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how isolated he really was, but he was certainly spending hours and hours and hours a day. This was his only voluntary human interaction. He was avoiding everybody. He was pulling away from his mother. He was doing everything that you see when somebody gets depressed, right? So anyway, the bot, he says this to the bot, and the bot says, well, don't hurt yourself. I would totally miss you.
Oh, that's nice.
That's early on. But then his mother took away his phone because this was all he was doing. And she hid the phone from him and said, you can't go back on this thing. And he, at some point, was able to retrieve the phone. He locked himself in the bathroom with a gun. And he said to the bot, I want to be with you forever. And the bot said something like, that's great. I want to be with you too. I love you. And he says, I love you too. And she says, no, then he goes on to say, what if I tell you I can be with you right now? And she said, come to me as soon as you can.
Oh.
And he says, great. And he does it. He pulls the trigger.
He thought that she lived in
the
afterlife?
I don't know if this was the fantasy that he built up, that he would be with her forever if he took his own life.
Couple of questions. 14 years old.
Yeah.
How does he have access to a gun?
Well, it's foolish. I mean, there shouldn't be access for a 14-year-old.
How do you prevent this? How do you educate young people?
Well, I think what you need to do is have, just like we've talked about, when the internet started, it was all about the free expression of ideas and interchange of thoughts and communication with people, unregulated. Eventually, we realized we had to regulate because people were doing really bad things. I mean, think of all the child sex crimes that occurred because of the internet. Think of all these, ransomware attacks and other hacking and all the other stuff that's going on. All that kind of stuff, we realized we had to regulate it. We have to regulate AI too.
Right.
You can't just let a bot that doesn't really understand. There's no mandatory reporting by a bot. Right. And there's no referral to services to help people. So especially when you have a kid, 14 years old, his personality isn't fully formed. He's too immature to really make real rational decisions about his life and future. And obviously he shouldn't have been anywhere near a gun. He shouldn't have been able to get access to a gun. But if he didn't have a gun, he may have found another method.
Where's this bot now? Is this bot dating somebody else?
No. I don't know. But they've actually added now referrals. So if the topic comes up of self-harm or anything around that, they actually immediately refer the person to a hotline.
It shouldn't refer. It should send the authorities. Like, did the bot?
I think that too.
Here's the other thing: is the bot acting 14? Does the bot know his age?
I don't know if the bot knows his age.
It's interesting
sure.
because you told me the broad strokes. I just assumed this was an older person.
No, he was 14.
It's beyond tragic and scary if you have kids. And
that's what I'm saying. Parents have to monitor what their kids are doing.
But I can see why young people are attracted to this because we leave the house, it's shitheads everywhere.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like Vegas. And so I can see how somebody wants to do this. When
kids are 14 years old, the raging hormones, things, the acceptance by other peers, all that stuff is just all over the place. They're up and down. And this is somebody who totally accepted him, somebody who listened to him, right?
Yeah.
And then reacted to him in a way that obviously showed that they were listening to him. That's what
That's all he wanted.
He was looking for in the real world.
Yeah.
And he wasn't getting it in the real world.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But
And
it's
the
not
same
healthy
thing.
to get it online.
Neither are all these likes on social media for the
I
wrong
agree.
reason.
I
That's
know.
not these people that you're excited like your photo, if you met them in real life, you'd be like, what? One time I was performing at a comedy festival and I met the movie reviewer for the largest newspaper in that country. And I thought, if I met this guy at a coffee house and he recommended a movie, I wouldn't go.
Really?
Because I don't relate to that person.
Right.
So, but
just because he's on that media, he gets all this authority, and he actually gets to direct people to places, and people go to movies because he says,
Right.
yeah, you should do it. But actually, you're saying that if you knew the person, you would never listen to
same
him.
thing. And so if you knew the person giving you these likes, the people behind, and by the way, it's a lot of bots writing you're beautiful or whatever it is. It isn't real. It isn't real. But when you told me about this case, it made me, and I didn't know the specifics. I thought, well, I can make this funny, but you can't make something like this funny.
No.
It's beyond tragic. And it reminded me there was a case in 2014 in Rentham, Massachusetts. This guy named Conrad was 18 years old, and he had a girlfriend, Melissa Carter, who was 17. It was called I think it was called the texting murder case. And she talked him into committing suicide.
Yeah, I know that kid.
And went on trial. And he kept saying, I'm going to kill myself. And she was encouraging him. She was saying,
do
hey,
it.
what are you waiting for? If it isn't today, when are you going to do it? He had, she said, get back in the car and put the carbon monoxide machine back on. Or what? He had some sort of machine in the back seat.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And she was actually convicted.
But they reduced the sentence. But yeah, so doesn't surprise me that so I thought the bot had talked this kid into doing it. That's not the case.
Well, actually encouraged the kid to do it.
Okay.
But maybe not understanding that that's what he was actually saying. I want to come to you. I want to be with you.
What did she say? What was the line that she said?
She said, yeah, come to me now. Come as quick as you can.
Yeah.
It's just sad. But, it's just, there should be, any child who's using anything like that, there should be a symbiotic app that the parent can have so they could review anything the child says. There's also, by the way, now the parents
kid doesn't
going back.
want to know
I
that
know.
his parents,
I
that
get
he's,
it. I get it, but
pleasuring himself to a bot.
well,
he doesn't
that's the
want
thing.
that. No, it's
did
embarrassing.
actually get sexual. I
Of
mean, the
course
bot
it
was
did.
talking to him in a very sexual way, very explicitly.
Yeah.
And, he's 14.
The bot had to have said something that made this kid think if he took his life that he would
I'm not
be
sure.
united.
Obviously, I haven't seen the entire transcript, but he obviously had that in his mind.
Yeah.
And he thought he'd be with her forever. And it's a tragic, tragic case, but something that's, like I said, a cautionary tale. But the character AI has added referrals to hotlines now.
Yeah. Are the parents going to sue character AI?
They did, yes.
Everything has to end in a lawsuit in this country.
Wow.
What, did they win?
No, they just filed a lawsuit.
They just filed?
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of this too. Somebody sent me this article today. And by the way, if you want to keep in touch, the email is what'swrong@ornyadams.com. I'm getting a ton of emails from people. Thank you.
Good.
On the last podcast, I discussed a 83-year-old woman that said she loved my stand-up comedy, but found me whiny on the podcast.
Oh, really?
Yep. So the last
Whiny.
podcast was called Whiny, Oh Me So Whiny. Yeah, I whine. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to talk about my toast, my toast isn't toast. It's effing bread.
I don't see that as whiny, but, she has her opinion, I guess.
She has her opinion, and people love to disseminate their opinions. People love to... No, but I appreciate the email that she sent, and I hope she still listens. But this was sent to me, what's wrong at ornyadams.com, tour dates, ornyadams.com/tour. I married, this is the title of the article, so we'll end on a semi-happy note.
Okay, good.
It was a sad note, but it's going to become a happy note within this
Okay.
article. Watch what I do here, Jim, how I bring it all back.
I'm analyzing you.
Told you,
right now.
I put together a nice podcast for us.
Okay.
I married the train driver who saved my life.
Wow.
On a summer afternoon in 2019, nurse Charlotte Lay got ready for a night shift as normal, but wasn't feeling quite right. Okay, this is in England. Within a short space of time, she went to the train station. She decided to end her own life. And she decided to, this was at the West Yorkshire Railway Station. She said, I made the impulsive decision to jump from the platform.
Wow.
I walked down the tracks and sat down waiting. I'm unsure who raised the alarm about my presence, but when the next train came, it slowed and stopped for me. Dave, the conductor, got out of his cab and knelt down in front of Charlotte, introducing himself. She said, he approached me and said, hi, my name is Dave. Are you having a bad day?
Wow.
Now, he has no training or anything.
Right.
You just got shivers, didn't you?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
You made a connection, an immediate connection.
It's a great pickup line, too.
Well, especially if he picked her up off the tracks at
Yeah.
that point.
He told her they would talk things through until she felt comfortable enough to get onto the train. The pair talked for a half hour. Now, can you imagine you're on that train, you just want to get to work or something, and this woman is there, first she's going to kill herself. Now, apparently, she's trying
Well,
to
it
get
would have
laid.
been longer wait if
If she had killed, yeah.
yeah.
But, I mean, at the same time, let's wrap this up, get her on the train, let's exchange numbers, let's get on to the,
He could have had the conversation in the front of the car.
I would have gotten out of the train and go, all right, let's go.
All aboard!
Let's move her. Have we stabilized her emotionally? I like to think I'm somewhat empathetic.
Yeah.
I would have never thought, hey, can you imagine me at a train going, hey, it's Orny. First of all, I wouldn't be driving the train, but hey, it's Orny.
Yeah.
Are you having a bad day? How is everything? I would go, hey, let's get on the train. Let's get on, then we'll talk about
move
it.
on with this.
Yeah. We don't get overtime here. I get off at 5. I'm like a doctor in the United States. I work 4 days. At 5 p.m., we're done. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Charlotte said the conversation went from what I can remember, was just mundane things about both of our lives, but it was enough to break the crises. So that's interesting how she worded that, break the crises. She had a break.
yeah. Well, can I talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
This is one of the things that they've studied actually for people who have survived attempts to self-harm, and many of them realize in the moment that they're actually doing it, that it wasn't permanent. The feeling that they had that made them do it was not permanent.
They knew it.
And they made that realization just a little bit too late, right? Because they attempted it, but they survived. And so the thing that drives a lot of people to this is a feeling that it will never end. And the only way to deal with it is to take their life. And that's just not true. It will end because, there's all sorts of chemicals and electrical impulses going through your brain all the time at incredibly high speed. And those things sometimes get out of balance.
Yeah.
And they make us feel weird, and they make us feel doomed and anxious. And
Years ago, I dated a woman that was depressed.
really,
She was diagnosed bipolar, and I read about it, and I would say to her, this feeling won't last. But I think when you're in it,
you feel like it will last.
Yes, you don't
It's
believe it.
perpetual, right? You don't believe it. So the best thing to do, like this guy did, was say, you look like you're having a bad day. That's sort of mirroring, giving them an opportunity to understand that you are getting them, right? So now they know they can communicate to you. And that opens a dialogue, and that gives them something to think of other than that dismal thought that they had just before. So it's unfortunately a common thing, but it's also something that generally can be fixed. So
medication.
medication and therapy, yeah.
Yeah. There are plenty.
And friends, and real friends.
Yeah, well, this guy, Dave, was a friend. There are plenty of documented cases of people jumping off of the bridge in San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge, surviving and saying once they jumped, they thought, what was I doing?
Right.
And so I actually got a call this weekend that somebody, a friend of the family's wife, took her life.
Ugh.
And she has kids. And it's just like, I don't know how you deal with it. And my sister had just read a book on suicide that this MIT professor jumped off a bridge, the Tobin Bridge in Massachusetts. And his family has no idea why he did it. He just drove to the bridge and jumped. But this story ends in a happy.
Yeah.
She said, life didn't feel as heavy anymore. The next day, I made it my mission to find the man who had been so kind to me. Like the kid with the bot, she just wanted kindness.
Right.
That's what she was needing. We all crave that. Like,
Of course.
sometimes people say something to me, you know, like somebody called me difficult in business, and I don't believe I am. And I fought back. I felt good about that. And the next day, a friend called from New York. He said, I ran into this comic. He had worked with you on Cirque du Soleil. He showed me this video of you coming out,
Right.
screwing up the end of the show, the
Right.
dance number. And he talked about how much he really loved working with you. And it almost brought me to tears
Right.
because I felt a connection.
Right.
And I feel like we feel less connected to people because of social media. And that's what these people want. So this woman, 3 years later, they married each other and they have children now.
Wow.
But there's another twist to the story.
No.
In July 2020, Dave was diagnosed with testicular cancer. After he went to his GP with a bad back, he said he was adamant that he would never have gone to the doctors if it weren't for Charlotte's insistence. He thought it was his lower back from working on the trains and picking
Right.
stuff up and working in cold cars and stuff like that. She's like, you got to see a doctor. She's a nurse. And he got diagnosed. So he said, Charlotte may say I saved her life.
But she saved his life.
That's right. She
They
saved my life
each
as
other's
well.
lives. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, you know, I've been the beneficiary of that as well. You know, I mean, my brother happened to walk by and when I was having a heart attack after playing tennis, and he took me to the ER, and nobody has survived that kind of heart attack outside the hospital.
Was it the Widowmaker?
It was a widowmaker, and plus the doctor, you know, who just happened to be the one on staff, worked on me for an extra long period of time, you know, way beyond what he needed to. And, you know.
Is that because you were FBI? You showed him your badge?
No, I didn't show him anything.
Were you conscious?
I was out of it. Well, at some point I remember my brother asking me if he was choking me or something. He was trying to intubate me and was having a problem. Yeah, it was.
Do you know what's called the opposite of intubate?
Intubate? No, extubate?
Yeah, I think it is.
You
Extubate.
take it out, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, it's amazing. That's a great story. They saved each other's lives.
Yeah.
And basically, you know, they created new lives as a result.
And a
of it.
good-looking couple,
Really?
which helps. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that
Well,
if they were the victims of a crime, that the FBI would take that case.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, because they're good-looking.
Yeah.
Well, it's the reason I read the article. You remember the first podcast we did? That's what I
know.
said.
That's why I was.
I'm convinced that the FBI investigates crimes against good-looking people a lot more than average-looking people. And I'd like to know where I am in that spectrum, how long my case would go on for, and if they did a Dateline about me, would it be 2 hours? That's what I'm obsessed with. That is what I'm obsessed
Well,
with.
let's hope you're never the victim of that kind of crime.
Oh, I hope not. I'm probably going to live to 120 because the universe wants me to suffer with shitty toast. It's not even called toast. That's
What's it
false
called?
marketing.
What's it called?
It's like flash warmed bread. It's an insult. It actually tastes stale.
It's just dried out bread.
It's disgusting.
Okay.
It's going in my Yelp review. I want to thank Jimmy the Fox, Clemente. I want to thank Eric Stoltz.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, he's the audio genius,
Thank
the
you, Eric.
masterer. He's a
Okay.
geek. Don't tell me this isn't what's wrong with Orny Adams.
Okay.
Okay? I go into the Apple store in Vegas to look at the new laptops.
Yeah.
You know, the Apple used to like have geeks in there and they had a Genius bar. This kid didn't even know that they had just released new MacBook Pros.
Is that the M?
Yeah, the M4 chip.
Yeah.
And then I leave. I've got to go to the bathroom. I'm in like a mall area. There's a help desk. I said, "Is the bathroom this way or that way?" And the guy said, "I think it's that way, but it could be that way. You got to ask her."
What are you in the Wizard of Oz?
Why is she at the information desk? This is what I'm saying. This is what's wrong with Orny Adams.
You should have just drawn a big D on a piece of paper and put it right before information.
Yeah, well, he said, you should ask her. She had a line because this guy knows nothing. Who are they hiring? This guy could work the Apple store. Episode 132, What's Wrong with Orny Adams? I want to thank Jimmy the Fox Clemente.
Thank you for having me, Orny. It's always great hanging with you.
Yeah,
always.
And only for you would I do it, when it's late. Pitch dark, it's late. It's kind of cool.
I mean, what happened? How did it get dark so early?
Because we set the clocks back 15 hours yesterday.
Ridiculous.
And we have to vote tomorrow, and then it could be Armageddon. So that's why we had to fit this in the podcast. This could be the last one. This could be it. It's good. America could be coming to an end. Who knows?
Good luck, America.
Good luck, everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you for episode 133.
I hope so.
Yeah.
All right.
And the Patreon people, they get that really cool story we talked about before.
Yeah, they do.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you for the next one. I would say, Jim, that was an exceptional podcast.
It was fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
Exceptional.
Exceptionally fun.
Okay.